Nutrition in living organisms. Now, we know that living organisms include plants and animals. So, today we are going to learn about nutrition in plants and animals. Now, do you recall, children, what is malnutrition? Yes, malnutrition occurs when all the nutrients that the body needs are not obtained in the proper proportions from the diet. And which are the ways to prevent malnutrition? So, by having a balanced diet, we can prevent malnutrition. So, what is balanced diet? A diet containing adequate quantities of all nutrients is called a balanced diet. Now, let's understand about nutrition in detail. Now, some life processes go on continuously in living organisms, isn't it? We know in our bodies itself, there are certain processes in our body which are called the life processes which go on continuously. Our digestion of food, okay, so it goes on continuously. Breathing, okay, so circulation of gases, carbon dioxide, oxygen goes on continuously in our body. So also our heart pumps continuously from 24/7, continuously it is pumping. So all these life processes go on continuously in all living organisms, and substances which are digested and assimilated for obtaining energy for their growth and health of our body are called foodstuffs. So what is assimilation? So whatever food we eat, that is digested and assimilated by our body, that is, it is taken, broken down, and the nutrients from the food is taken by our body for obtaining energy. So to get the energy, and not only energy but for the growth of the body, growth of the various cells and tissues, and for fighting our disease, for the health of our body. So all these things that we take, substances that we take, are called foodstuffs, and we get several types of nutrients from foodstuffs. So there are various nutrients that we get. Now, nutrients can be classified into two types, namely macronutrients and micronutrients. So the nutrients that we get from the food that we eat are divided into two parts, which are the macronutrients and micronutrients. Now let's study about them in detail. Now, nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are required in large quantities. Okay, so our body requires carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in large quantities. So, these are macronutrients, and minerals and vitamins are required in smaller quantities. So, they are called micronutrients. Now, let's understand about nutrition in detail. Now, what is nutrition? The process of taking in and using the food which takes place in living organisms is called nutrition. So, living organisms, like I told you, include plants and animals. So, this process of taking in food is called nutrition. Now, why is there for need for nutrition? Let's study that. Now, nutrition is needed by our body for these four reasons, and they are to supply energy required for doing the work. Now we know that our body does so much of work, isn't it? So not only our body, it is among all the living organisms. Plants also require a lot of energy to do so many other functions that the plants does. So for the energy, nutrition is required. Now for growth and development of the body, isn't it? Our bodies are constantly growing, constantly developing, and to replace the damaged cells and repair tissues. So whichever the cells are damaged, our body is growing, so cells and tissues are growing, so it has to replace some of the damaged tissues. So for that it requires nutrition. And to fight diseases, our body has to be healthy. Our body should be able to fight the various diseases. So therefore, for all these various reasons, our body requires the nutritions. Now nutritions again are divided into two parts. Those are called the autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now, what are autotrophic nutrition? Some organisms can produce their own food and thus nourish themselves. This is called autotrophic nutrition. So, which is the best example of autotrophic nutrition? Plants. So, plants can produce their own food and nourish themselves. So, therefore, they are called autotrophic. They don't depend on any other things for food. But there are organisms which depend on other organisms, that is, which includes plants and animals. There are some plants that do not produce their own food. They depend on other organisms for their food. Not only other plants, but other animals also. Same way is the animals. Animals depend on plants as well as other animals for food. So such organisms, plants and animals, are called heterotrophic nutrition. Now let's learn more about autotrophic plants, that is, plants that can produce their own food. Now, can you tell how do plants produce their own food? Do you know how do plants produce their own food? Of course, you have studied about it, isn't it? So let's recollect everything that we have studied. Now, plants also need food for their growth. So plants are living things and they need food. They can produce their own food. So, with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, plants make their food in the leaves using water and nutrients from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air. And this process is called photosynthesis. So, here we can see that in the presence of sunlight and with the help of carbon dioxide, the plants take in all the nutrients, that is water, minerals, salts from the soil. Okay, and it is transported by the stem to the leaves, and the leaves have chlorophyll in them. So, with the help of chlorophyll, they are able to produce the food and store it. So, that is the whole process of producing this food is called photosynthesis. Okay, so this is the chemical equation of it. Carbon dioxide is taken in by the plants as well as water and nutrients, and in the presence of sunlight, so the chlorophyll is able to convert the water and the nutrients into food glucose, and oxygen is given out. So this is the chemical equation of this whole process that is goes on. Now, plants convert light energy into chemical energy and store it in the form of food. So how are they able to do this photosynthesis? Is light, that is our sunlight. So that sunlight, that is an energy, so that is called the light energy, is converted into chemical energy. So follow this picture as I explained to you. Now what do plants do? Water, minerals, salts are absorbed by the roots from the soil. Okay, so the roots, that is the function of the roots, they take all the water, the minerals, and the salt. So that forms the nutrition. Okay, they absorb it from the soil, and the stem transports them to the leaves. So that is the function of the stems, to transport these nutrients, that is water, the minerals, and the salts from the soil, from the roots to the various parts, and that is to the leaves. And what do the leaves do? The leaves have microscopic openings called stomata. So microscopic means very very minute, very tiny, very small. We can't see it with our naked eyes. If you just pick up the leaf and you see, you'll not be able to see it. But yes, if have you seen when we try to dry the leaves and all that, sometimes we will be able to see that. So they are very minute microscopic openings called stomata, through which they take in the carbon dioxide from the air. So we know that plants absorb carbon dioxide and in return give out oxygen. So therefore they take the carbon dioxide, and the chloroplast, okay, present in the leaves contain chlorophyll. So this is the chloroplast. If you can see the picture given alongside, so this is the chloroplast. It contains chlorophyll. So chlorophyll, with the help of sunlight, water, minerals, okay, and salts, the chlorophyll is able to convert it into food, so which absorbs sunlight, helping to convert carbon dioxide and water into food, and in the process oxygen is given out. So this is how the whole photosynthesis, the process of photosynthesis, that is how plants are able to produce their food. So this is the process that goes on. Now besides leaves, so not only leaves, besides leaves, photosynthesis takes place in some other parts like the green stems too, as they contain chlorophyll. So the green stems also have chlorophyll in them, so they also can produce food and they can store the food.